Chapter 23. Yu's dad, do you think our son will really be single for the rest of his life? Lady Su leaned her head on her husband's shoulder and asked while sobbing. No, he's only in his 30s. Many people don't get married until they're in their 40s. You should know from watching the entertainment news that those directors and actors in the entertainment industry all get married late. Yu's probably affected by that. Let's not worry. I'm just afraid that in a few decades, we'll all be old and gone. You will be alone in this world without his wife and children. That would be so. No, don't think too much. Mr. Su kept comforting his wife. Su, you didn't know that his current situation not only made Huamin sad, but also made the Su family's heart ache. He felt that his life was no different from before. Especially after having twins, it was a lot more fun. When Su went home and came out of the shower, he saw the video sent by Little Bean. It's so late. Why aren't you sleeping? Su looked at Little Bean. I can't sleep. Little Bean replied in a childish voice. Why? Are you being bullied by your sister again? Su asked with a smile. Pudding and Little Bean often argued, but every time they quarreled, Pudding would win. So after being bullied, Little Bean would always complain to Suyu. No, my sister doesn't have the time to care about me. She only cares about her stock market. She's going crazy. After Little Bean said that, Suyu couldn't help but laugh. What about you? Do you have any hobbies recently? Suyu deliberately teased her. Little Bean thought carefully for a long time and replied, Is flirting with Gao Buin considered a hobby? Yes. Suyu laughed heartily after saying that. Why are you laughing so flirtatiously? Little Bean asked with a straight face. You're so young and already know how to bully people. Good thing I didn't let you go to kindergarten. Otherwise you'd be in trouble. Wrong. If we go to kindergarten, we'll be bored to death. We won't have anything in common with the other kids. There'll be a generation gap. Little Bean said seriously. Miss Chin Mumu, you're right, Suyu said respectfully. In that case, let me ask you a question. Other than asking me who's prettier, you can ask me anything else. Suyu had learned his lesson and eliminated the scariest question. Then tell me who's prettier, me or Mommy? Little Bean had an idea and changed the name of her sister to Mommy. Of course it's because you're pretty, Suyu replied. Why? Little Bean asked. It's simple. It's because you're younger than her. She's almost 30 and you're only 4. 20 years later you'll be in your prime and she'll be an old lady. By then she'll have a face full of wrinkles, a mouth full of fake teeth and a menopausal temper. It's scary just thinking about it, Suyu said with a smile. However, he noticed that there was something wrong with Little Bean's expression. Just as he was about to ask what was wrong, Little Bean turned around and yelled, Mommy, why are you here? Suyu felt like he was struck by lightning. Huamin walked in. She was wearing a long cotton dress and her long hair flowed down her back. Without saying a word, she walked in front of the camera and glanced at Suyu. Then she crossed her arms and smiled at Suyu. Old lady? Face full of wrinkles? Mouth full of fake teeth? Menopausal temper? Huamin's smile made Suyu's hair stand on end. Chapter 23. It's a misunderstanding. Vice Director Hua, it's all a misunderstanding. Suyu immediately corrected himself. See, you've got guts. Have you grown wings? Do you think you can fly if you have a pair of wings? Huamin asked. I can fly even if I don't have wings. I can use a paraglider, huh? Suyu made up a bunch of nonsense. So, is it really okay for the president of Imperial Star to talk bad about others in the middle of the night? Huamin asked. I was just joking with Little Bean. Don't take it seriously. Suyu smiled and tried to please Huamian. Yeah, Mommy, I was just joking with handsome Su. The truth is, Mommy is the prettiest. My sister and I combined can't even compare to Mommy. That's why handsome Su gave Mommy such an expensive chong. Little Bean might be young, but she was quick-witted. Seeing that Huamian was about to criticize her, she immediately brought up the chong Sam. As the saying goes, gifts blind the eyes. So Huamin's expression changed when he heard the chong Sam. Don't give her such expensive things in the future. Huamin changed the topic. Suyu immediately let out a sigh of relief. He looked at Little Bean gratefully and replied, It's not expensive. I'm glad you guys like it. I have so much money that I can't spend it all. Okay, it's getting late. I should let Little Bean and Little Bean go to bed. You should rest early too. Su Yu nodded, but he didn't have the heart to press the end button. Huamin leaned down and hung up the video call. The last shot was of her standing close to the camera. Her long hair was draped over her shoulders, and her face was clean and pretty without makeup. Su Yu's heart raced at that moment. It turned out that after 4 years, Huamian was still the only one who could move his heart. Su Yu took off his bathrobe and lay down on the spacious bed. He sighed slightly. Li Jian's "When You're Old" was playing on the phone. At this moment he actually felt a tranquility in his heart that he had never felt before. When you are old and unable to walk, warm yourself by the fire and remember your youth. How many have loved your youthful days and admired your beauty, false or true? Only one still loves your devout soul and the wrinkles on your old face. Accompanied by such beautiful lyrics, Su Yu imagined that 20 years later Huamin would be old. She was close to 50 years old and there was a frown on her face. She was no longer youthful. He thought that he would still love her like this because what he loved in the first place was not her appearance. As she thought about it, she no longer felt sleepy. She picked up her phone and called Tang Chuan. "Come out for a drink?" "Ah, drink? That won't do. A little inconvenient for me right now." "What's so inconvenient about it? Is your period here?" Su Yu deliberately slandered him. "Oh, it's my grandaunt. She's at my house." "Grandaunt? Qin Ning is there." Su Yu immediately reacted. "Yaha." Tang Chuan smiled proudly. "What's up with you? Are you going to cook the rice tonight?" Su Yu laughed and teased. "Little Chuan, what are you doing? Come and help me." Qin Ning's voice came from the other end of the phone. "Okay, coming." After speaking, Tang Chuan lowered his voice and laughed. "Hee hee, Lord Su, I'm hanging up now. Go, take it easy. Don't shoot me, fuck you." Tang Chuan laughed and cursed at Su Yu before hanging up. Chapter 23-25. Tang Chuan ran into the kitchen and asked, "What's wrong, madam?" Qin Ning pointed at the oil in the pot. "Help me turn off the fire. It's too scary." "So this is your first time cooking?" Tang Chuan looked at the black dough in the frying pan and rubbed his ears helplessly. 10 minutes ago, Qin Ning said she was going to make him fried noodles and then this happened. "Yeah," Qin Ning said confidently. "So you're going to experiment on my house?" Tang Chuan was dumbfounded. "Yeah." Tang Chuan was speechless. "What? Can't I?" Of course, but..." Tang Chuan wanted to say something but stopped. "Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and put out the fire. It's going to explode." Qin Ning looked at the mess in the pot and hid far away. Tang Chuan quickly turned off the gas stove. "Oh my God, don't ever come into the kitchen again." Tang Chuan pushed Qin Ning out of the kitchen. "But aren't you hungry? I was just being nice and wanted to make you something to eat." Qin Ning felt wronged. No, I'm not hungry anymore. You don't have to do this. Come on, sit and eat an apple." Tang Chuan picked up an apple from the coffee table and stuffed it into Qin Ning's hand. That night the two went to the arcade. After having fun, Qin Ning asked to come to his house. Tang Chuan thought she was going to do it with him. However, after she came in, she looked around and evaluated his house. In the end, she concluded that Tang Chuan's house was well decorated. It was tasteful and clean. The most important thing was that there were no women's personal items, such as underwear, long hair, lipstick, facial cleanser, etc. Qin Ning was very satisfied. It seemed that Tang Chuan wasn't as unreliable as the rumors said. "I'm not eating anymore. It's late. I should go." Qin Ning put down the apple and got up. "You're leaving already?" Tang Chuan didn't want her to go. "What else? Why should I stay?" Qin Ning asked. "Ah, no, that's not what I meant. What I meant was, actually, it's already so late. If you want to stay, there are many guest rooms in my house. I won't do anything to you, right?" Men always use that as an excuse. My little bean said that you can't trust men's words. Many men say that they just want to hug you to sleep, but look what happened in the end. In the end, they still went overboard. There were even some who were even more shameless and said that they wouldn't go in and would just leave it at the door. What happened in the end? In the end, he still ate the girl, so don't try to lie to me. Tang Chuan almost blushed when he heard Qin Ning's bold words. "Great aunt, are you talking dirty to me?" "What are you talking about? I'm trying to reason with you." Yes. You're right. But did you really hear this from Little Bean? Is that your niece?" "Yes, Little Bean knows a lot. What she says makes a lot of sense," Qin Ning said confidently. "In the future, I think you should stay away from Little Bean. She'll be a bad influence on you, Tang Chuan advised. Qin Ning. In the end, Tang Chuan drove Qin Ning back to South Hill Manor. The next morning, Qin Chu and Hu Min came down for breakfast. Since they both had to go to work, they ate especially early. Qin Chu's parents and children woke up late, so they ate the second wave of breakfast. Qin Ning woke up early, which was rare. She sat down with her brother and sister-in-law and ate with relish. She seemed to be in a good mood. Ning, I have something to ask you, Qin Chu said. What's wrong, brother? Brother? Qin Ning looked up. Chapter 23-26. When are you going back to the States? Qin Chu glanced at her and asked. Are you trying to kick me out? Qin Ning pouted. Hu Min couldn't help but chuckle as he listened to the conversation between Qin Ning and Qin Ning. Don't interrupt me. You know what I mean. Your dad already called me. If you don't go back now, he'll be here. Huh? Really? Qin Ning immediately put down the half-eaten sandwich in her hand. When have I ever lied to you? Then what should I do? How about I book a plane ticket for you and you go back first? The headquarters are very busy, Qin Chu said. Qin Ning seemed to be in a difficult position and didn't say anything. Hu Min glanced at Qin Chu and then at Qin Ning. Ning, are you dating Tang Chuan now? Qin Ning wanted to admit it, but she was too embarrassed to say it. It's okay. You're an adult. It's not embarrassing. Yeah, we're officially dating. Qin Ning lowered her head and blushed. Then have you thought about what you're going to do in the future? Are you not going to go back? What are you going to tell your dad? Hu Min asked for his husband. My dad. He always wants Tang Chuan to marry into his family. I don't think it's fair to him. I don't want that. Qin Ning was conflicted. Don't worry about it. If you think you and Tang Chuan get along, your brother and I will help you, Hu Min comforted Qin Ning. Thank you, sis-in-law. Qin Ning looked at Hu Min gratefully. Honey, let's not force Ning. She's in a difficult position. Second uncle is on the phone, so let's keep it a secret. Let's give her and Tang Chuan more chances to get to know each other and know what to do in the future. It won't drag on for long. Qin Chu didn't agree with his wife. Brother, sister-in-law, don't talk about it anymore. I'll call my dad in a while and talk to him personally. Hey, it's best if you play it yourself. But don't be too optimistic about your father's temper. Qin Chu warned his sister. After breakfast, Qin Chu and Hu Min went out together and headed to the parking lot. Honey, is it really okay for you to make things difficult for Ning so early in the morning? I think she and Tang Chuan are in the honeymoon period. I'm not trying to make things difficult for her. I'm trying to give her a heads up. She can't always be immersed in unrealistic things. Besides, if Tang Chuan really cares, he might be willing to make some concessions for her. Qin Chu analyzed. Hu Min nodded in agreement. After all, Tang Chuan seemed to like Qin Ning a lot. I'll drive you to South Side. Qin Chu held Hu Min's hand affectionately. It's okay. You usually send people to protect me. You don't have to drive me yourself. I'm not a kid anymore. Hu Min smiled. I've been feeling uneasy lately. I don't know what's wrong. Qin Chu frowned slightly. Are you feeling unwell? Hu Min asked worriedly. Qin Chu shook his head. No, I just have a bad feeling. That's why I'm worried about you. I'll send more people to protect you. You should be careful too. Also, don't come into direct contact with Hu Xiqian, Qin Chu warned Hu Min cautiously. Okay, I know. Hu Min nodded. As for Pudding and Little Bean, I'll also limit the number of times they go out. They have to be careful. My instincts are always accurate. I don't want anything to happen to our family, Qin Chu added. Is it that serious? Hu Min wondered if her husband was making a mountain out of a molehill and was too worried about her and the kids. Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia. Sir, the plane is ready. It'll take off in 15 minutes. Should we inform Mr. Hua in advance? No, I want to give him a surprise. Then the corners of his mouth curled up strangely. Chapter 23-27. 6:30 p.m. in a luxurious shopping mall. Uncle Shin, I'm hungry. I want fruit pizza, little Tian Tian said in her baby voice. Shin Mingxi held her little hand and doted on her. Good girl, we'll wait for mommy here. She went to the washroom and will be back soon. We'll go when she comes back, okay? Little Tian Tian nodded obediently. People who didn't know better would think that they were father and daughter. Although the man looked young, the way he looked at the child was obviously a father's love for his daughter. Not far away, two women were shopping when they saw this scene. One of them pulled the other woman's arm. Ying, look who's that? Reminded by her friend, Wei Ying looked up and her expression changed drastically. Although they had been divorced for months, Wei Ying's heart still felt like it was being overturned when she saw Shen Mingxi. Ying, is that little girl the daughter of that bitch Hui Yanyan? Her friend gritted her teeth and cursed. Yes. Wei Ying had investigated Hui Yanyan's situation and had seen the child many times. She could tell at a glance that it was Hui Yanyan's child. But why is young Master Shen so nice to that child? I have a wild guess. Could that child be Hui Yanyan and young Master Shen's child? You've been in the dark all this time. Wei Ying's face was livid as she shook her head. That's impossible. If that child was his, the Shen family would have done something already. That's strange. If she's not his child, why is he so nice to her? The woman next to her couldn't figure it out. Wei Ying looked at the woman and the child not far away, feeling bitter and unwilling to give up. Ying, let's go. Her friend knew that Wei Ying couldn't let go of her ex-husband and didn't want to provoke her further. However, Wei Ying strode towards them. Hey Ying, what are you doing? Her friend followed closely behind Wei Ying. Young Master Shen, long time no see. Wei Ying pretended to be calm and generous as she greeted Shen Mingxi. Shen Mingxi looked up. When he saw that it was Wei Ying, the warmth in his eyes turned cold. That kind of disgust that was emitted could be seen at a glance by others. What's the matter? No one could compare to Shen Mingxi's cold demeanor. In this world, only Rick and Qin Chu were colder than him. What? Can't you just say hello? After all, we used to be husband and wife. We're not enemies now. Wei Ying looked at him with a faint smile. I'm scared. Little Tian Tian had seen Wei Ying pick on Hui Yanyan several times before. Therefore she was traumatized by Wei Ying and retreated in fright when she saw her. Tian, don't be afraid. Uncle Shen is here. Shen Mingxi comforted the little girl patiently. Well, young Master Shen, you're so lucky these days. Buy one get one free. You don't have to get pregnant and you're already a father? Congratulations. But being a stepfather isn't easy. Most importantly, you have to raise someone else's child. Not only is it a waste of time and money, but when the child grows up, she'll be an ingrate. When the child goes back to her biological father, you'll be nothing. It'll be too late for you to regret it then. I'm just reminding you out of kindness. Wei Ying's words were always vicious. After she finished speaking, Shen Mingxi's face darkened. Chapter 23-28. It seems like no matter how much time has passed, you still won't control yourself. You're still as vicious as ever. Shen Mingxi said faintly. Yeah, I'm vicious, but you still married me back then, didn't you? No matter how good Hui Yanyan is, she's still a mistress. Even if we're divorced, she still can't enter your family. She's a total bitch. A bitch who only knows how to seduce other people's husbands. The more Wei Ying spoke, the more agitated she became. She was about to reveal her true colors. Ying, stop talking. Let's go. The woman beside her tried to persuade her. Why should we go? I'm not the one who's embarrassing myself. Do you think I'm afraid of that bitch? Our Wei family isn't that easy to bully. Wei Ying was still arrogant. Look at yourself. I suggest you go to Southside Recuperation Center when you have time and ask Dr. Hua from the neurology department to treat you. What do you mean? Who are you calling crazy? Wei Ying was about to go crazy. Shen Mingxi didn't seem to want to waste time with her, so he pulled Tian Tian's hand and walked forward. Let's go, Tiandeng. Stop right there, Shen Mingxi. How can you treat me like this? You used me back then and now you're dumping me. You're a scumbag. I was blind. I'm telling you, you're not going to have a good ending. Wei Ying cursed as she cried. Everyone in the mall was watching the drama unfold. Shen Mingxi stopped in his tracks and looked back at her in disappointment. Wei Ying, with my family's power, we don't need to form a marriage alliance with the Wei family. You married into my family because our families were good friends. I thought that since it was a business marriage, it didn't matter who I married. This kind of relationship is mutually beneficial, so don't say that I used you. There are so many socialites in this city, it's not like I had to marry you. Now that things have come to this, you don't have to look at yourself and blame everyone else. I've always been like this. It was you. You cheated on me and fell in love with that bitch Hui Yanyan. How can you be so heartless to me? Wei Ying accused him, heartbroken. Just then Hui Yanyan came back from the washroom. She was wearing a beige dress with her hair in a ponytail, which made her look young. The current Hui Yanyan was even more beautiful than when she was at her peak because she had a mature charm. What's wrong? What happened? Hui Yanyan was a little flustered when she saw that everyone was watching. She quickly walked over. Mommy. When little Tian saw her mommy, she immediately ran over and hugged her. That bad woman is here again. I'm so scared. Tian pointed at Wei Ying. Hui Yanyan raised her head. When she saw Wei Ying, her eyes turned cold. Seeing Hui Yanyan show up, Wei Ying was even more indignant and began to incite the audience. Everyone come and take a look. This woman is a total homewrecker, a shameless homewrecker. My husband and I divorced because of her. Look at the true face of this vixen. Wei Ying, are you done? Shen Mingxi reproached her coldly. Am I wrong? You've been bewitched by this vixen, so you're protecting her. Wei Ying said matter-of-factly. Just then the audience began to whisper among themselves. Tianan, don't be scared. Go to your Uncle Shen. Mommy has something to say. Hui Yanyan carefully pushed her daughter back to Shen Mingxi's side. Then she walked towards Wei Ying step by step. Ying, let's go. It's better to avoid trouble. Her best friend beside her kept trying to persuade her. But Wei Ying pushed her friend away. I'm not scared of this bitch. I'm the eldest daughter of the Wei family. She's a jinx who has no one to rely on. Chapter 23-29. Hui Yanyan walked up to Wei Ying and looked into her eyes with a calm expression. The truth was she had never been afraid of Wei Ying. In fact, she felt that Wei Ying was more pitiful than her. Wei Ying, you're not a kid anymore. I think it's ridiculous that after all that has happened, you still haven't learned to grow up. What do you mean? Wei Ying didn't know why Hui Yanyan would say something like that. We both liked Mingxi, but why did you win in the end? That's because our Wei family is richer than your Huo family. Plus, your family was facing bankruptcy back then. The Shen family wouldn't marry a pauper. Wei Ying said matter-of-factly. Wrong. You're just looking at my face. It's not like that. Today I'll tell you why I lost in the first place. Hui Yanyan leaned close to Wei Ying's ear and said word for word, because I was just like you back then. You were unreasonable like a shrew. No man would like a woman like that, let alone young Master Shen. Now that I understand this, you're still so stubborn. You're really pitiful. Hearing this, Wei Ying stared at Hui Yanyan with wide eyes. You're talking nonsense. It's not like that. Don't try to lie to me. You're just looking for an excuse for what you did. Then let me ask you, why is it that even though I'm a second-hand divorced woman with a child and nothing, Mingxi is still willing to be with me but insists on divorcing you? Hui Yanyan smiled. That's because you're shameless. You used all sorts of methods to seduce him. Wei Ying cursed with red eyes. Forget it. You probably won't understand what I'm saying. If that's the case, then I have nothing to say. However, I'll give you a piece of advice. Don't do things that lower your status. You said it yourself, you're the young mistress of the Wei family. You're a socialite. Don't act like a mad dog and bite everyone you see. If you continue like this, Mingxi won't want you. No man will want you. Wei Ying was enraged by Hui Yanyan's words and felt humiliated. He raised his hand and slapped her. Yan. Shen Mingxi's heart skipped a beat. He was afraid that Hui Yanyan would be taken advantage of. To her surprise, Hui Yanyan reacted quickly. She reached out and grabbed Wei Ying's arm, holding it tightly. Wei Ying seemed to have lost her mind and wanted to hit Hui Yanyan with all her strength. Do you think I'm a pushover? Hui Yanyan looked at Wei Ying coldly. Don't think you can sit back and relax just because Shen Mingxi has your back. Let me tell you, if I, Wei Ying, wanted to kill you, it would be as easy as killing an ant. Childish. Since you're so stubborn, I won't say anything more. It's meaningless. After speaking, Hui Yanyan pushed him forcefully. Then he turned around and walked back. Wei Ying almost fell to the ground, but her best friend caught her. Ying, stop hitting her. It's bad for your image. Reporters will take pictures of you. What's there to be scared of? They're shameless, so am I. I'm going to tear this little bitch to shreds today. Let's see if she dares to be so cheap in the future. She's a bitch who steals other people's men. Wei Ying was going crazy. She pushed her best friend away and rushed up, wanting to hit Hui Yanyan again. Just then Shen Mingxi walked over and pulled Wei Ying away, throwing her to the side. How dare you hit me? Wei Ying pushed Shen Mingxi away roughly. It seemed like she was being violent, but her heart sank. Chapter 23:30. Stop messing around. I won't do anything to you today because of your brother. If you keep messing around like this, I won't go easy on you. You're on your own now. Shin Mingxi's eyes were cold when he was angry. Wei Ying knew he wasn't joking. The look in his eyes was indeed terrifying. After the warning, Shin Mingxi left the mall with Hui Yanyan and the kids. The farce was over. Wei Ying, who had been shopping to relax, was in a worse mood because of this incident. She sat on the ground and cried. Half an hour later, inside a high-end Western restaurant, don't be polite to Wei Ying in the future. Do whatever you want to do. I'll send people to protect you and Tian Tian, Shin Mingxi said in a low voice. Actually, I understand how she feels right now. Hui Yanyan smiled. Oh, you understand her? Shin Mingxi was surprised and slowly raised his head. When my dad was still alive and the Hu family was at its peak, I was just like her now. I was arrogant and didn't know what was good for me. I thought no one was better than me. I used my family's status and my dad's love to do whatever I wanted. Back then, I bullied Hu Mian just like how Wei Ying bullies me now. You bullied Hu Min? Shin Mingxi was surprised. Hui Yanyan scooped up a spoonful of ice cream and said with a smile, back then I was young and immature, thinking that everyone liked Hu Mian. I was so jealous that I kept picking on her and causing trouble for her. Luckily, she didn't stoop to my level. Later, when I was in trouble, Hu Mian didn't hold it against me and reached out to help me. That made me realize how ridiculous and despicable I was. People always grow up in pain. I don't blame Wei Ying, she probably hasn't realized some things yet. As time passes, she'll understand. Yang, you're getting more and more. Shin Mingxi looked at Hui Yanyan with a dazed look in his eyes. Yes, sometimes he didn't know why he was so obsessed with Hui Yanyan. More and more? Hui Yanyan smiled elegantly. It's getting more and more interesting. Shin Mingxi commented. Hui Yanyan smiled faintly and didn't say anything else. Shin Mingxi liked Hui Yanyan's calmness even more when faced with Wei Ying's hysterics. Sometimes women won not because of their looks or family background, but because of their intelligence and personality. It was many years later that Hui Yanyan found out why Hu Min was so popular. It was because of his indifferent and low-key personality, coupled with his rare wisdom. She thought that if she were a man, she would also be attracted to a woman like Hu Min. At Ni Yang's wedding, I saw you talking to Hu Min for a long time. How was it? Did she blame you too? Shin Mingxi asked. That's not true. Mian is someone who never goes overboard with her words. It's normal that she doesn't understand what I'm doing. After all, we have different experiences. You can understand people now. Shin Mingxi exclaimed. Yeah. That's why I often think how great it would have been if I had such an awareness back then. Then you wouldn't have married Wei Ying. You wouldn't have had such an unhappy first marriage. Maybe our child would have been a few years old. Hui Yanyan smiled. It's not too late now. After this project is finished, I'll take you home to meet my parents. Then we'll have a child of our own. Of course, I won't neglect Tian Tian either, Shin Mingxi said slowly. Hui Yanyan's heart skipped a beat. She didn't expect him to make his promise so calmly. What? You don't want to marry me and have children with me? Shin Mingxi smiled at Hui Yanyan, making a rare joke. Chapter 23:31. It's not that. Then why do you look like that? Hui Yanyan wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. In short, at this moment she felt very conflicted. What's wrong? Shin Mingxi could tell that Hui Yanyan wasn't in the right mood, so he looked at her worriedly. It's nothing. Let's eat. Hui Yanyan smiled and lowered her head to continue eating. When they returned home that night, Shin Mingxi and his assistant drove out because he had some work to do. After Hui Yanyan gave Tian Tian a bath, she carried her to bed. Tian Tian was probably tired because she fell asleep after a short while. Hui Yanyan picked up her phone and suddenly wanted to send Hu Min a WeChat message. Ever since Ni Yang's wedding, she hadn't contacted Hu Min. Speaking of which, Hu Min treated her well. Although Hu Min died in prison, Hui Yanyan was smart enough not to blame it on Hu Min. Hui Yanyan had escaped from poverty and was now with Shin Mingxi. However, her heart was still empty. She realized that she had no friends or family. Her brother died tragically and her mother was nowhere to be found. Her family and friends didn't interact with her because they were afraid of being implicated. Now that she had turned over a new leaf, she still felt lonely. Come to think of it, Hu Min was her only family and friend in this world. She opened WeChat and was just about to send a message to Huamin when she saw that a new friend had added her. Hui Yanyan curiously clicked on the friend's ID and saw that it was Shang Shui. The profile picture was of the famous celebrity Mo Shui. She hesitated for a moment before accepting the friend request. Before she could ask, the other party sent her a WeChat message. Shang Shui, Hui Yanyan yourself? Hui Yanyan, yes. Shang Shui, I'm Mo Shui. Hui Yanyan, the celebrity? Shang Shui, yes. Hui Yanyan, what's up? Hui Yanyan knew that Mo Shui had always been arrogant. She wouldn't have added her on WeChat for no reason. Shang Shui, how arrogant. Hehe. Hui Yanyan, so why are you looking for me? Shang Shui, let's talk face to face. I do have something important to tell you. Hui Yanyan, now? Shang Shui, what? Were they afraid that Shen Mingxi wouldn't agree? Hui Yanyan frowned slightly. It has nothing to do with him. I'm the only one at home. My daughter is asleep. It's really inconvenient. Shang Shui, then I'll go find you. I'll drive to your house. Come down and we can talk. Hui Yanyan, why don't we do it another day? There's no need to rush. Obviously Hui Yanyan didn't want to see Mo Shui. She was smart enough to know that Mo Shui wasn't someone to be trifled with, just like the dead Song Yisher. She didn't want to get involved in this mess. Shang Shui, what if I say it has something to do with your revenge? Are you interested? Hui Yanyan, what did you say? Shang Shui, send me the address. Come down and talk. It won't take up too much of your time. Hui Yanyan thought for a few seconds when she heard the word revenge. Then she sent the address to Mo Shui. 30 minutes later, Mo Shui sent another message. Shang Shui, I'm downstairs. It's a red Porsche. The license plate is 2212. Hui Yanyan, okay. I'm coming down now. Hui Yanyan didn't even change out of her home clothes. She only put on a long black cotton jacket that reached her feet. Then she quietly opened the door and went downstairs. Sure enough, the red Porsche was parked downstairs. The license plate was 2212. Hui Yanyan slowly walked over. Mo Shui opened the door for her. Chapter 23:32. Get in. Mo Shui pointed at the passenger seat. Hui Yanyan didn't say anything. She opened the door and got in. Mo Shui was wearing heavy makeup and a gray fur coat. She was dressed in a flashy style as usual. Go ahead. Hui Yanyan didn't seem enthusiastic. I know why you suddenly want to get close to Shen Mingxi. You want to use him to get revenge for you, right? Mo Shui asked with a mysterious smile. Hui Yanyan sneered. Miss Mo, we don't know each other that well. Don't make it sound like you know me very well. We don't know each other well. That's why I spent a lot of effort investigating you. Investigating me? You really think too highly of me. How could a celebrity like you investigate a nobody like me? I'm so sorry. Of course I wouldn't do it for no reason. I am Mo Shui, don't do bad deals. So what do you want from me? Hui Yanyan asked. Mo Shui slowly took out a pack of cigarettes and glanced at Hui Yanyan. Do you want one? I won't, Hui Yanyan refused. Then I'll smoke one. Do you mind? Mo Shui smiled. Whatever. Hui Yanyan's reaction was still cold. Mo Shui lit the cigarette and took a deep puff. Then she slowly said, I want you to work with me to fight someone. Of course that person is also your enemy. Are you talking about Huamin? Hui Yanyan smiled. She knew that Mo Shui hated Huamin, so she immediately guessed that the person Mo Shui was talking about was Huamin. Although I hate Huamin, I'm not at the point where I have to fight him. Plus, with my current abilities I can't defeat Huamin. I know my limits. If it's not Huamin then... Hui Yanyan tilted his head and looked at her in confusion. Hui Xiqian. Hui Yanyan was slightly surprised by Mo Shui's words. Hui Xiqian? Haven't you always? Hui Yanyan didn't finish her sentence. However, everyone knew about the incident between Hui Xiqian and Mo Shui. When Hui Yanyan's father was still alive, Hui Xiqian had even taken her to the Hui family for dinner. Do you want to ask me why I'm going against him when I love him so much? Mo Shui chuckled as she looked at Hui Yanyan. Yes. Because there is love, there is hatred. You can understand my feelings for him as hatred born from love. How do you want to deal with him? Hui Yanyan didn't waste any more time and went straight to the point. I want him dead. I'm sure that's what you want as well, right? Hui Yanyan nodded. Yes, I want him dead too. But he's not that easy to deal with. That's why I came to you. Mo Schwecker continued to smile eerily. You overestimate me. I'm not that capable. You might have come to the wrong person. Hui Yanyan lowered her head. You don't, but Shin Mingxi does. Don't you have him backing you up? This is my own business. I don't want to drag him down with me. That's enough, Hui Yanyan. Stop pretending. I know exactly what kind of person you are. Since I dared to come to you, I'm confident. I'll make it short, I have a perfect plan. As long as you cooperate with me, I'll make sure it's flawless. Once Hu Xiqian dies, I'll leave the country and you'll have your revenge. Isn't that great? If it's as easy as you say, that's great. But if it's not, we'll be alerting the enemy. You should know how Hu Xiqian is going to take revenge, Hui Yanyan said calmly. Chapter 23:33. Of course I know, but I don't have any other choice. If I don't do it now, I have a feeling that he'll do it to me soon. I'm going to die anyway, so I might as well try. Mo Schwecker had been living in fear for the past few days. She kept having nightmares about Hu Xiqian stabbing her heart with a knife. Ever since she started her revenge, Hu Xiqian had been so calm that it was scary. The calmer he was, the more scared Mo Schwecker became. She was on the verge of breaking down. So she decided to end everything as soon as possible. What's your plan? Hui Yanyan decided to listen to Mo Schwecker's plan. Maybe this was a good opportunity for her. Next Tuesday, the Hu Corporation and the Shin Corporation have a business meeting. Hu Xiqian will go to the Shin Corporation's clubhouse. The security there is tight and I don't know where to start, so I need your help. How do I help? Hui Yanyan didn't know what Mo Schwecker was planning, so she asked tentatively. It's simple. I'll give you something later. Just put it in Hu Xiqian's tea. Since you work for Shin Mingxi, it'll be easy for you to do it. No one will suspect you. Mo Schwecker flicked the ash off her cigarette and smiled. You want me to poison Hu Xiqian? Hui Yanyan was surprised. You could say that. Mo Schwecker nodded. That won't do. The Shin Corporation is there and he's working with Shin Mingxi. Something happens to him there, the Shin family and Shin Mingxi will be involved. I told you before, even if I want revenge, I won't drag him down with me. It was obvious that Hui Yanyan still had feelings for Shin Mingxi. Otherwise, she wouldn't have dragged him down with her. It seems like you still have some feelings for Shin Mingxi. Mo Schwecker smiled. Anyways, I won't drag him down. Don't even think about this plan. Hui Yanyan rejected Mo Schwecker's request. Don't be nervous, little girl. Don't worry, I'm not going to poison Hu Xiqian directly. I'm not giving him poison either. It's just one of the ingredients. It won't kill Hu Xiqian. Then what are you? Hui Yanyan was slightly surprised. She didn't understand what Mo Schwecker was trying to say. Hu Xiqian isn't easy to deal with, so we'll have to take it slow. I'm only giving him a colorless and tasteless medicine. He won't feel anything after taking it and it won't kill him either. But I know that Hu Xiqian has been taking a type of medicine for neuralgia for many years. If this medicine comes into contact with other medicines, there will be a chemical reaction. It won't kill him immediately, but it'll only poison him a little bit. In less than half a month, he'll be incurable. So that's what you're planning. Hui Yanyan finally realized what was going on. What do you think? Perfect, right? Mo Schwecker smiled proudly. But, is this really going to work? Are you sure there won't be any accidents? Hu Xiqian has already stopped taking his medicine? Hui Yanyan was still worried. She thought Mo Schwecker's plan was too rash. It won't. Don't worry, I've been with him for so many years, so I know what he's doing. He won't be able to stop taking that medicine, so he'll definitely take it. So, what we need to do now is you think of a way to put the medicine in his mouth. Alright, you don't have to worry about him having a reaction to it. If you don't mix this medicine with other medicines, his life won't be in danger. So, I suggest you put it in the teapot and let both of them drink it. Chapter 23:34. Then Mo Schwecker took out a small black bottle from her bag. It was as thick as her index finger. Why should I believe you? Hui Yanyan had no intention of letting Shin Mingxi eat something of unknown origin. It's simple. Don't you have a good relationship with Humin? You can go to Humin and ask her to check for you. What's this? She'll tell you if it's dangerous, so don't worry. I asked you to do this because I'm worried that if you put it in Hu Xiqian's teacup alone, He'll be suspicious and refuse to drink it. If that happens, all our efforts will go to waste. He's a very suspicious person. He'll only drink it when he sees Shin Mingxi drinking it. What we need to do is to make sure he drinks it. You can leave the rest to me. Your mission is done. He'll be poisoned in half a month. No one will suspect you if he's dead or alive, right? Hui Yanyan remained silent after hearing Mo Shui's words. However, her heart was beginning to waver. Although Mo Shui's method was vicious, it was indeed a good way to get rid of Hu Xiqian. As far as I know, you're the only orphan left in the Hu family. If Hu Xiqian dies, the Hu Corporation will return to you. Then you can openly marry him with the Hu Corporation. The Shins won't look down on you anymore. Isn't this killing two birds with one stone? Hui Yanyan, why are you still hesitating? Mo Shui tried to convince Hui Yanyan. In other words, she was trying to brainwash her. I'm just curious. Haven't you always loved Hu Xiqian? Why would you do something like this to him? How do I know that the two of you aren't working together to frame me? Hui Yanyan asked as she glanced at Mo Shui's face. Mo Shui put out her cigarette after she heard what Hu Mian said. Then he laughed out loud. Love? Haha, the most pitiful thing in my life and the thing I regret the most is falling in love with him. He ruined me and we can't go back to how we were before. So only when one of us dies can the other be free. I don't have the courage to commit suicide, and in comparison I want him to die more. Saying that I love him at a time like this is too weak. Because we've been entangled for so many years, and there are so many ties that it's not something that can be explained with just a simple word like love or hate. I've thought about it for a long time before coming to find you. You can choose to believe me and we can fight against a common enemy together and then benefit from it. You can also choose not to believe me and not cooperate with me, and I'll think of a way myself. But you'll miss the best opportunity to deal with Hu Xiqian. Hui Yanyan's eyes dimmed slightly. She knew Mo Shui wouldn't lie. Everyone in the industry knew about the grudge between Mo Shui and Hu Xiqian, so it was likely to be true. Think about it and give me an answer tomorrow. Time is of the essence, and if you agree we can make our move next week. Okay, let me think about it. Hui Yanyan took the little black bottle and nodded. Then Mo Shui got out of the Porsche and drove out of the neighborhood. Holding the little black bottle, Hui Yanyan's heart was filled with complicated emotions. She wanted Hu Xiqian dead, but she wanted to take her revenge slowly. She wanted to destroy Hu Xiqian's reputation. She wanted to take back the Hu Corporation and humiliate him. She never thought about drugging and killing Hu Xiqian with her own hands. Hui Yanyan had never done anything immoral. Not to mention it was a human life. Therefore she was very hesitant. Chapter 23:35. Hui Yanyan didn't have Mo Shui's vicious heart, so she couldn't be as decisive as Mo Shui. Hui Yanyan took the medicine Mo Shui gave her, turned around and went upstairs. Then she quietly hid the medicine in her makeup bag. Shin Mingxi wouldn't pay attention to it, so he wouldn't notice. Late at night, inside a bar in Sea City, three men walked in and immediately attracted everyone's attention. The man walking in front was dressed strangely. It wasn't raining, but he was wearing a black cloak. He was also wearing a hat, so his face couldn't be seen clearly. The two men behind him were wearing white cloaks, but they didn't wear hats. The two men in white cloaks were obviously Westerners. They were tall and had blonde hair and blue eyes. The man in the lead walked up to the bar counter and lifted his black hat under the spotlight. Instantly, everyone in the bar screamed. He was an extremely handsome foreigner. Although he wasn't young anymore, his facial features were so exquisite that they could drive people crazy. His deep eyes looked even more mesmerizing in the night. There were many foreigners in Sea City, but this was the first time they saw a foreigner with such good looks. He was like David Beckham, who was universally recognized as handsome. "Sir, what would you like to drink?" the waiter asked in fluent English. "Water," the man answered in Chinese. The waiter was surprised by his fluent Chinese. Then he immediately replied, "Okay, please wait a moment." At this moment, different women began to approach him. Some were sexy, some were innocent, some were flirtatious, and some were even wild. These women threw themselves at him dauntlessly. Some didn't speak English, so they used hand gestures. Some only spoke a few simple words in bad English, which was very funny. However, the foreigner rejected them all. He seemed uninterested in all women. Then a young girl walked in. She was wearing a short black dress and had long hair. Although she wasn't particularly beautiful, she had a good temperament. The two men behind him whispered to the man in the black cloak, "Sir, she's here." The man nodded. He didn't say anything and continued to sip his water. The woman walked in and sat down at the VIP table in the first row. "Xiang Xing, you're late. You'll have to drink as punishment." A pretty girl sitting at the same table said with a smile. "Don't even mention it. My dad has been obsessed with that vixen Immerse lately. I'm so mad that I gave her all the pink diamonds I bought at the auction. What the hell, I just had a fight with him." The girl picked up a bottle of beer on the table and gulped it down. This was the youngest daughter of the Xiang family. She was also the daughter of the fourth madam of the Xiang family. She had this child at an old age, and this girl was only in her early 20s. She used to be Mr. Xiang's favorite daughter, but things changed after Emma Schwecker entered the Xiang family. Emma Schwecker had been in the entertainment industry for many years. She knew all kinds of tricks. Mr. Xiang doted on her very much and was willing to give her everything, which caused the Xiang family to split apart. The fourth branch's Madame Dowager had always been at odds with each other on the surface, so Emma Schwecker's involvement only made things worse. "Alright, that bitch is just your father's pet, why are you being jealous? Your father loves you so much, he will definitely give you a lot of property in the future, don't worry," her friends comforted her. Suddenly one of the girls said, "Xn, look at that handsome guy over there. Are you interested?" Xiang Xn was surprised. "The one sitting at the bar." The girl pointed in the direction of the bar. Xiang Xn looked up and stared for a while. "A foreigner." Chapter 2336. "Yeah, he's so cool. He's been here for a while. He doesn't drink, he only ordered water," one of the girls said with a smitten look on her face. "He only ordered water? Is he poor?" Xiang Xn didn't think much of it. "Of course not. Look at his shoes. They're from the most luxurious brand in Italy. Do you think he can't afford to drink? He's so cool." Xiang Xn looked at the man's shoes. Indeed, they were from the most luxurious brand in Italy. They were custom-made and cost more than 100,000 a pair. In this city, only super rich people like Su Yu and Tang Chuan could afford to wear them. This foreigner was definitely not a poor guy. But he's dressed so strangely. It's winter and it's not raining. Why is he wearing a cloak? He looks like a vampire. Xiang Xn muttered to herself. That's called personality, you know? Nowadays foreigners are all about performance. It's not something that ordinary people like us can understand. But if you guys like him, why are you still standing here? Xiang Xn took a sip of wine and egged on her friends. "We tried, but we all failed. He didn't even look at us." Just then the man at the bar turned his head and looked in Xiang Xian's direction. Xiang Xian happened to be looking in that direction as well. The moment their eyes met. When their eyes met, Xiang Xian froze. The man smiled. His eyes and the curve of his lips were so beautiful. "Wow. He's smiling at you." The girls around Xiang Xin pushed her. She touched the corner of her mouth and felt that it was too unreal. Was he really smiling at her? "Seems like foreigners like you. Xen can go get him." The girls egged her on. "Me? Forget it. I don't think I can do it." She didn't have the courage to do it. Just then a foreigner wearing a white cloak walked over from the bar. She walked up to Xiang Xin and said politely, "Miss, my boss would like to invite you over for a drink." "Hey you guys." Xiang Xin didn't expect it to be her. Ever since she was a child she had always been the most inconspicuous person. She didn't expect to see her this time. "Hurry up and go. What are you waiting for?" A few girls pushed Xiang Xin to her feet in envy. She followed the man in a daze. To be honest, she was nervous too. After all, she had never struck up a conversation with a foreigner before. "What would you like to drink?" he asked in Chinese. Xiang Xin was just about to answer when he continued. "Bloody Mary, do you like it?" Xiang Xin shook her head. "I don't like it." "Well, I don't like it either because I think the smell of blood isn't strong enough. It's too faint." The man in the black cloak smiled. Hearing that, Xiang Xin felt that something was wrong, but she couldn't figure out what it was. "Plain water isn't bad. Have a sip first. I'll treat you to something better later." The black-cloaked man smiled mysteriously. When he looked at her, his eyes seemed to have a hypnotic power. Xiang Xin didn't like drinking plain water, but she drank it for some reason. After that she followed the men and left. "Hey look, Exen left with that foreigner. It can't be. So fast. Can't wait to get a room? That's amazing. Oh, I'm so jealous. I heard that foreigners are very good in bed. Tomorrow I'll ask Xiang Exan about it. The girls saw their companion being taken away with their own eyes, but they didn't realize the danger. That was until something extremely terrifying happened. Chapter 23:37. Xiang Exan followed him out in a daze and got into the black Mercedes-Benz. Then they arrived at a place that looked like an old castle. There were very few people here and it was very quiet. What is this place? Xiang Exan seemed to have just realized where she was. This is where I'm staying. Isn't it nice? The man smiled. This place is so dangerous. It's an abandoned house. Why don't you stay in a hotel? Xiang Exan looked around and realized that it looked like an abandoned church. There were weeds and cobwebs everywhere. It looked disgusting. A hotel? Why would a hotel have this kind of ambience? The man smiled. Just then his subordinates handed over 2 wine glasses. There was a red, sticky liquid inside. Xiang Exan thought it was red wine. I just said that I'll treat you to something better. Here, cheers. The man handed a glass to Xiang Exan. When she took it and put it to her mouth, the bloody taste was so strong that she almost vomited. What is this? She held the glass and asked. In fact, she already had an answer in her heart. She'd try it. It's very delicious. Then the man looked up and drank the red liquid in his glass. Because the liquid was too sticky, the corner of the man's mouth was stained with something red. Xiang Exan thought it was blood. This his blood? Xiang Exan was terrified after she asked this question. Oh, it's not just blood. It's human blood. The man answered. Crack. The glass in Xiang Exan's hand fell to the ground and shattered. Then blood flowed everywhere. She took another 2 steps back herself. Who are you? She realized that these people who took her away were not kind people. Phew. What a pity. You wasted my drink. How sad. The man looked down at the blood on the ground and frowned slightly. I'm the young lady of the Xiang family. My daddy is very powerful. Let me tell you. Xiang Exan kept stepping back and yelling as if she wanted to scare these people away. The man looked up and smiled. Baby, you have to pay me back with a drink first. Then 2 men in white cloaks walked up and grabbed Xiang Exan. What do you want? She struggled with all her might. The man suddenly had a dagger in his hand. He walked up to Xiang Exan step by step. Then he lifted her left wrist. What are you doing? Save me, save me. She screamed with all her might. With a tearing motion, she felt a sharp pain in her wrist, followed by a numbing sensation. Then blood flowed out from the wound. The man took an empty wine glass and took it from below. At this moment, Xiang Exan felt that her heart was about to collapse. Even horror movies weren't this scary, right? She even suspected that she had met a vampire. After the man filled the wine glass with blood, he put it to his mouth and licked it with his tongue. This perverted action made Xiang Exan want to puke. It tastes pretty good. Do you want to have a sip? He brought the glass to Xiang Exan's lips. Get your hands off me, you pervert. Help me. Xiang Exan screamed in despair. He felt like she was in a nightmare and everything felt so surreal. Since your taste suits my taste quite well, I'll give you a chance to give yourself to me. What do you want to do? She had a bad feeling. Chapter 23:38. Drain her blood. The man threw the dagger on the floor. Then he turned around with the wine glass in his hand. Xiang Exan felt as if something was about to explode in her head. 4 a.m. in the Xiang family mansion. Master, bad news. Bad news. A security guard ran in and knocked on Master Xiang's door. Mo Shuier, who was sharing a bed with Master Xiang, also woke up. What's wrong? Master Xiang woke up in a bad mood. Miss Exan. The security guard didn't know how to speak. What happened to Exan? Master Xiang asked. You should go and see for yourself. The security guard trembled in fear. Mo Shuier woke up as well. Master Xiang, let's go take a look. They hurriedly put on their clothes. Mo Shuier helped Master Xiang out. Mo Shuier and Master Xiang were dumbfounded when they saw what was happening. What's going on? Mo Shuier was dumbfounded. She had never encountered something like this before. There was a black coffin without a lid in front of the Xiang family mansion. Inside the coffin was Master Xiang's youngest daughter, Xiang Exin. She was wearing a white dress and looked like she was asleep. Her face was pale and her hands were crossed in front of her chest. There wasn't a trace of blood on his bare feet, which looked extremely horrifying. Someone, save my daughter. Send her to the hospital. Mr. Xiang was going crazy. Master, Miss Exin is dead, a security guard reminded him. Master Xiang felt a sharp pain in his chest and leaned back. Master Xiang, call an ambulance. Emo Schwecker was terrified. Police cars and ambulances went in and out of the Xiang family mansion until 8 a.m. The news media also rushed over to interview and report, and only then did everyone know what had happened. Master Xiang was hospitalized at Southside. The police sent Xiang Exion's body to Southside for a forensic examination. When Huamin went to work, he saw Lin Mingyu, whom he hadn't seen in a while. To be honest, he was embarrassed to see him. After all, he had used him before. Dr. Wu, good morning. Oh wait, you're Deputy Director Huamin now. Lin Mingyu took the initiative to greet Huamin. Dr. Lin, why are you here? Huamin was stunned. There was a murder last night. The body of the victim is here. Chief Gao asked me to come here to do an autopsy. Murder case? Huamin was stunned when he heard about the murder case. Yes, the method was extremely cruel. The victim was the eldest daughter of the Xiang family. She was only 20 years old and all the blood in her body had been drained. There was not a single drop of blood left. She was like a mummy. Before she died, she was sexually assaulted and her lower body was torn apart. Her death was extremely tragic. Chief Gao and the others have already set up the Major Crimes Division, and the higher-ups are taking this matter very seriously. It seems that this was done by a perverted killer. Huamin felt that this might just be a vicious murder case and it had nothing to do with him. When Huamin was doing his rounds, he accidentally saw Emo Schwerer in the corridor. He didn't know who she was calling. However, she was extremely agitated. I'm telling you, this was definitely done by Hu Xiqian. Only a pervert like him would do something like this. Can you stop hesitating? If you delay any longer, we're both done for. He attacked Xiang Exin because he wanted to show off to me and to Mr. Xiang. Emo Schwerer insisted that Hu Xiqian was the culprit. Huamin's first reaction was that it was impossible. Although Hu Xiqian was cruel, he wouldn't go so far as to bleed a girl, right? When Emo Schwecker turned around and saw Huamin, she hung up the phone. Huamin didn't plan on talking to her, so he continued walking. Huamin, did you know that Hu Xiqian has dual personality disorder? Emo Schwecker suddenly asked. Huamin stopped walking after he heard what she said. Chapter 2339. Dissociative Identity Disorder? Huamin tilted his head and looked at Emo Shui. You probably don't know this, huh? The scariest thing about Hu Xiqian isn't how cruel and ruthless he is. It's because of his personality. There are two souls living in his body, and they have completely different personalities. One of them is the side that we've seen and the other side is the side that's especially scary and demonic. Emo Schwecker said in all seriousness. But so what? What does that have to do with me? Huamin calmly glanced at Emo Schweyer's face. Haven't you always wanted to find out what he did in the past? Including Jiang Linyue's death, Song Yishi's death, and even Wang Shasha's death. Miss Emo, I think you're mistaken. I'm not a cop and I'm not that curious. Who Hu Xiqian killed has nothing to do with me. It doesn't matter to me whether or not he has dissociative identity disorder. Aren't you afraid that he'll threaten you and your daughters in the future? Emo Schweyer frowned. I believe that my husband will protect us. Miss Emo, you should worry about yourself. After all, you've done so many things to piss him off. You're on your own now, Huamin said coldly. Huamin, I finally know why Hu Xiqian likes you so much. It's because you're just like him, cold-blooded and heartless. You talk about kindness, righteousness and morality, but in reality you're just a selfish hypocrite. Emo Schweger sneered. Miss Emo, you've overestimated me. I've never talked about kindness, righteousness or morality. I'm not Lei Feng, I don't care about a good reputation or do good deeds. I only care about the people I care about. As for everyone else, they have nothing to do with me. Then Huamin walked away. Huamin, you'll regret this. If you don't get rid of Hu Xiqian, he'll destroy your family sooner or later. Emo Schweyer roared. The truth was she wanted to force Huamian to make a move out of anger. but she didn't expect Hua Mian to be so calm. Mo Shui'er was certain that Hua Xiqian was behind the incident with the Xiang family. She even believed that she was the next target. That was why he had hurriedly called Hua Yanyan and urged her to make the decision quickly so that he could take action. This was because it was no longer a matter of whether they wanted to get rid of Hua Xiqian or not. They had to do it. Xiang Xian's tragic death was a bloody example of this. Knocking the mountain to warn the tiger or killing the chicken to warn the monkey. The Xiang family had protected Mo Shui'er for so long, but Hua Xiqian didn't do anything. She already felt that something was off. Now Xiang Xian's tragic death was like a landmine that made things even more complicated. Mo Shui'er hung up the phone, turned around and walked into Mr. Xiang's room. "Mr. Xiang, what do you think?" Mo Shui'er asked with red eyes as she pretended to walk over. "My Xinxinxi." Mr. Xiang's face was filled with sorrow. It didn't feel good to see his daughter die before her own. He frowned in dissatisfaction and his fingers trembled slightly as he muttered Xiang Xian's name. "Mr. Xiang, I'm sure Hua Xiqian is behind this. We can't let this go on any longer. We have to fight back. Otherwise he'll push us and the entire Xiang family to the ground. I know what he's capable of. He dared to do this to Xiang Xian because he knows you love her the most. That's why he wanted to give you a fatal blow." Mo Shui'er quickly fanned the flames. Chapter 2340. Hua Xiqian. You and I will never forgive each other. Mr. Xiang was convinced that Hua Xiqian was the culprit behind the murder. The Xiang family's legal team even contacted the police and demanded that Hua Xiqian be thoroughly investigated and that he be charged with murder. Mo Shui'er even got into a huge argument with Gao Ran at the hospital. She accused the police of not doing a good job. "What have you been doing with our taxpayers' money? Someone died, it's such a big case, why aren't you investigating it? I already said that the number one suspect is Hua Xiqian. Why aren't you arresting him for questioning? What are you waiting for?" Mo Shui'er's attitude was extremely bad. Gao Ran had always hated Mo Shui'er's arrogance, so he replied in a huff, "Miss Mo, please watch your tone. We police officers are humans too, we're not gods. Have you watched too many TV shows? Do you think we're Detective Conan or Detective Conan? If there's a murder case, of course we'll take it seriously and get to the bottom of it. However, you're asking us to solve the case in a short period of time. Which one of your eyes saw Hua Xiqian kill someone? Of course he doesn't have to kill her, he has a lot of lackeys working for him. Why would he do it himself? But it must be him, he has the motive. Xiang Xian is a young girl, she doesn't have a boyfriend, so it's not a crime of passion. The Xiang family doesn't have any enemies, so it's definitely not a crime of revenge. The only suspicious person is Hua Xiqian. Mo Shui'er was certain that Hua Xiqian hired someone to kill Xiang Xian. But this is a matter of life and death, you can't convict him with just a few words. We'll investigate it, and if Hua Xiqian really did it, we won't let him get away with it, Gao Ran replied sternly. Forget it, I can't trust you police officers. Last time Hua Min and Qin Chu were used as scapegoats because of Song Yisher's incident. You guys were fooled as well, so I shouldn't count on you guys. I'll figure it out myself. Then Mo Shui'er turned around and walked back into the hospital room. Gao Ran's face turned green with anger. Just then Lin Mingyu walked out of the hospital, wearing white gloves and smelling of formalin. "Chief." Lin Mingyu greeted him respectfully. "How is it?" The time of death was between 2 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. yesterday. The cause of death was a cut on the wrist, which resulted in a ruptured tendon and excessive bleeding. The murderer was extremely cruel, and the victim's blood seemed to have been drained dry. I don't think this was an accident, it was done on purpose. Also, the victim was raped before she died. You could say that it was done multiple times because her lower body was severely injured. However, there were no signs of rape. This means that the murderer didn't do it alone, and he was very careful when he committed the crime. Lin Mingyu analyzed the situation professionally after the autopsy. Motherfucker, they really didn't let me live in peace. Gao Ran was extremely frustrated as well, and he kicked the wall in the hallway. As the leader of the municipal bureau, it was an insult to him that such a horrible murder happened right under his nose. This was a provocation to the public security department. What do we do now, Chief? Director Gao? Lin Mingyu asked. Let's return the body to the Xiang family after we've examined it. They probably want to hold a funeral. The higher-ups are taking this matter very seriously, and I'll investigate it thoroughly. I'll go back to the municipal bureau and see if there are any other clues. Then Gao Ran walked out in a huff and bumped into Huamin. Hey Gao Ran, you're here too? Huamin looked at him. Chapter 2341. Yeah, I'm here to see if I can find any clues. Gao Ran was obviously not in a good mood. I heard about the murder. I saw Lin Mingyu. It's pretty scary. A nice girl was killed. Huamin didn't know who Xiang Exin was, but he still felt sorry for her. I have a feeling that it's not that simple, Gao Ran said slowly. You mean? Huamin didn't know what Gao Ran was talking about. The Xiang family has been in the city for many years and Mr. Xiang is quite famous. Most people wouldn't kill his favorite daughter, let alone do it so viciously. Do you think this has something to do with Hua Xiqian? Huamin asked cautiously. I can't say for sure. I don't have any evidence, so I don't dare to say anything. Look into it. I'm going back to the bureau. It's not peaceful these days, so be careful. Gao Ran left the hospital after giving his orders. Huamin went back to his office after his ward rounds. As soon as he entered his office, his phone rang. Ho, Mr. Qin. Huamin smiled. He looked at the man on the other side of the screen, and all the gloominess in his heart disappeared. Are you busy? Qin Chu asked gently. I just finished my ward rounds and I'm going to eat in a bit. Yeah, I just finished a meeting too. Oh right, I just saw Gao Ran. There was a murder last night. Did you know about it? Huamin said to Qin Chu. Yeah, I saw the news. All the major media outlets are reporting about it. Yeah, it's tragic. The victim is the youngest daughter of the Xiang family. She's only 20 years old and she's as pretty as a flower. Lin Mingyu came to do the autopsy and so did Gao Ran. It's a bad thing. I heard that the little girl died a horrible death. The nurses at our hospital are all saying that it might be the work of a vampire. A vampire? Qin Chu frowned slightly. Yeah, there's no blood left on the body. It was all drained. Huamin said with a straight face. Are there teeth marks on her neck? Mr. Qin asked even more nonsensical questions. Huamin, honey, that's not a funny question. Huamin said with a pout. I heard that Mr. Xiang's at Southside. Yeah, he's in's VIP room. He's been on a 4-drip for a long time. Mo Shui's here too, right? Yeah, I saw her in the hallway. What was Hua Qin Chu's was to Huamin, was it? Honey, what's your shift these days? Qin Chu asked again. It's the day shift these few days. Hua Zhen Exen, Hua, what's wrong? Honey, what does this have to do with me? Are you worried that I'll be scared? Ah, don't worry, I'm not a little girl anymore. I won't be like those little girls, imagining things like vampires and zombies. I know it's scary, but I'm a doctor. I won't be so impractical. Huamin chuckled. No, I just think that Mo Shui has something to do with the Xiang family. Mo Shui's at Southside right now, and I'm worried that the murderer might come to Southside. A murderer who's capable of killing someone with such cruel methods is extremely scary. So you have to be careful while you're at the hospital. It doesn't matter if you're on the day or night shift, you can't let your guard down, Qin Chu reminded Huamin worriedly. Chapter 2342. Don't worry, honey. If Mo Shui's enemy, then it has nothing to do with me. I'm not Mo Shui's best friend, so I'll be fine. Anyways, be careful, Qin Chu reminded her worriedly. Okay, I know, honey. I will. Okay, then go eat. I'll pick you up if I get off work early. Okay. The couple hung up after the video call. Qin Chu stood up worriedly and stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window in his office. He was dressed in a white shirt and black pants. Even if he was dressed simply, he still looked stunning. President Qin. Assistant Yang knocked on the door and entered. It's time for lunch. Do you want to go to the restaurant or downstairs? Nope, I don't have an appetite, Qin Chu said slowly as he looked out the window. Sir, what's wrong? Did you have a fight with President Hua? Assistant Yang thought that a powerful man like President Qin wouldn't be in a bad mood unless he had an argument with the person he cared about the most. Even if the company's revenue dropped by a few dozen points in a quarter, President Qin wouldn't be in such a bad mood. No, we didn't fight. Then. Assistant Yang was confused. I'm fine. Go eat. If you want to eat anything, let me know. I'll buy it for you. Go out. Qin Chu wasn't in a good mood. After sending Assistant Yang away, he stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window and stared at it for a long time. He had this feeling since a few days ago. For some reason he felt uneasy. He felt like something bad was going to happen, but he didn't know what he could do. Qin Chu didn't like this feeling of helplessness. Huo Corporation headquarters, boss, what should we do? Should we ask the PR department to release a statement? The rumors are getting worse and worse. They're just one step away from saying that you killed her. Especially that bitch Mo Shui. She's been implying that you had something to do with what happened to the Xiong family. She even told the media that you went to the Xiong family's house multiple times. That bitch wants to frame you. Huo Xiqian's subordinates defended their boss. Huo Xiqian was being attacked even when he was lying down. Obviously he had done nothing, but he was inexplicably treated as a murderer. He had been accused of being directly related to Xiong Xian's death. All the major media outlets reported that Xiong Xian was seen at a bar with her best friends before she died. Then she hooked up with a mysterious handsome foreign guy in a bar. After that she disappeared without a trace. It was not until the next morning that the corpse appeared in front of the Xiong family's house. There's no need to explain. I'm afraid that some things will only get worse the more you explain, Huo Xiqian said slowly. But if this goes on, the police will also suspect you. The police need evidence to arrest people. This has nothing to do with me, so we don't have to do anything, Huo Xiqian said confidently. Boss, do you think that bitch Mo Shui hired someone to do it and then framed you? If that's the case, then we can't let this woman live. We have to kill her. Huo Xiqian's subordinate made a bold guess. Huo Xiqian shook his head. Although Mo Shui is ruthless, she wouldn't kill someone like this. She wouldn't have the guts to drain all the blood from the victim. She wouldn't have the guts to do something as perverted as that. She wouldn't be so strong-willed either. Boss, do you think that someone else is behind this? Chapter 2343. Huo Xiqian didn't say anything. He took out a Brazilian cigar and sniffed it. He didn't know what he was thinking. Inside the interrogation room, the waiter and Xiong Xian's friends who were drinking with her that day were all brought in for questioning. When was the last time you saw Xiong Xian? Gao Ran asked. Last night we were drinking at the bar. She came in late and was in a bad mood. She said her dad was nice to his mistress, the girl recalled carefully. Then the foreigner who came to the bar kept looking at her. We thought he was interested in her, so we teased her. Then she really went with him. I think she drank something and left with him. Did Xiong Xian know that guy? No, we didn't know him. We thought he was very handsome, so we were unconsciously attracted to him. What did he look like? Do you remember? The lights were dim, so I can't remember the details. Also, foreigners all look the same, but they look different from us. So I can't tell you. By the way, isn't there a surveillance camera in the bar? You can check it, right? The girl suddenly realized and suggested to Gao Ran. The surveillance camera has been tampered with. We can't find anything. What? That's so creepy. The girl was frightened. Officers, you have to check it out. Xiong Xian died so tragically. You have to catch the murder. If that foreigner really did it, even if we can't convict him, we can't let him get away with it. We'll do our job. Don't worry. The interrogation went on for the whole morning, but there was no result. The waiter and Xiong Xian's friends all pointed to a foreigner. However, they couldn't describe the man's appearance. After all, he was wearing a black cloak that night. Plus, the bar was dimly lit. Boss, do you want us to check the information of foreigners who recently entered and left the city? One of his subordinates asked. It's useless. If they dare to do this, they won't be able to find anything. Gao Ran sighed with his hands on his waist. Sure enough, his subordinates checked the immigration information for a while, but they didn't find anything wrong. Why don't we check all the foreigners living in the city? Eliminate them one by one? There are at least 800 foreigners in the city. How do we check? Check one by one. Before you can investigate anything, the next victim might have already been killed. This method is really not feasible. Gao Ran did not agree to use this stupid method. What should we do, boss? The provincial government is urging us to solve the case as soon as possible. The police in the city bureau were also very anxious. Such a thing had happened so suddenly and they had no clue at all. I think we should look at the root cause of this case. The murderer obviously didn't kill Xiong Xian for her money or her body. He left her body in front of her house and even made a coffin for her. Why would he do that? Gao Ran asked. To provoke. A quick-witted policewoman answered. Gao Ran nodded. It must be proof that this person was meant for the Xiang family or Elder Xiang. This proves that this is not the end but the beginning. Perhaps the next victim will be another member of the Xiang family. You guys hurry up and send people to protect the other direct members of the Xiang family, whether it's the elderly, children or women. Protect them all. Gao Ran didn't think this case would end so soon, so he asked people to protect the other members of the Xiang family first. Late at night in the corridor of the hospital, Emo Schweger couldn't sleep, so she found a secluded corridor to smoke. When she came back, she vaguely saw a shadow behind her. Who is it? She turned around alertly. Chapter 2344. When Emo Schweger turned around, there was no one behind her. It was 12:30 p.m. Emo Schweger never had a good night's sleep, especially since the Xiang family was in trouble. Mr. Xiang was still in the hospital and Xiang Xian's funeral hadn't been held yet. She didn't want to stay at the Xiang family's house, so she thought it would be safer to stay at the hospital. Not only did she have bodyguards, but there were also a lot of people at Southside. Most people wouldn't think of attacking in the hospital. Emo Schweger panicked. She threw the cigarette in her hand to the ground and stomped on it. Then she quickly walked into the room. She walked faster and faster until she was jogging. When she finally reached the door, 2 bodyguards stood at the door. When they saw Emo Schweger gasping for air, they quickly went up to help her up. Miss Emo, are you okay? I'm fine. Emo Schweger waved her hands. Did anyone suspicious show up just now? No, not a single person, the bodyguard replied. Okay, I got it. Emo Schweger opened the door and walked into the room. Mr. Xiang was already asleep. He was wearing an oxygen mask. After Xiang Xian's death, Mr. Xiang had a heart attack and almost passed away. He was resuscitated twice at Southside and was still in critical condition. Emo Schweger hoped that Mr. Xiang didn't die yet. After all, she hadn't finished using him yet. After she dealt with Hua Xiqian, she would go abroad. She didn't care what happened to the Xiang family. Emo Schweger was relieved when she returned to the room. She tossed and turned but couldn't fall asleep. She took out her phone and sent Hui Yanyan a WeChat message. What do you think about that thing? We don't have much time left. After a while, Hui Yanyan didn't reply. She must have fallen asleep. Emo Schweger was tired. She got up and was about to wash her face when the door opened. A petite nurse wearing a mask walked in. Miss Emo, it's time to change Mr. Xiang's medicine. Okay, go ahead. Emo Schweger nodded. She didn't suspect anything. The nurse quickly picked up a long syringe and inserted it into Mr. Xiang's fore. Emo Schweger had her back to the nurse and was about to walk to the bathroom. Suddenly she felt numbness in her neck, as if something had pricked her. She was in pain at first and then she lost consciousness. The nurse took off her mask, revealing her delicate face. She had blonde hair and blue eyes. The bodyguard didn't notice what was under the curtain when the nurse pushed the trolley out. The night passed peacefully until the next morning. When Hua Min came to work in the morning, he saw police cars parked at the entrance of Southside. What happened this time? Hua Min was puzzled. Then he saw Gao Ran walk out with a dark face. Gao Ran, what happened this time? Hua Min asked. Elder Xiang died last night. Dead? How did he die? Hua Min was shocked. Murder. Someone tampered with his oxygen mask and injected poisonous gas into it, killing him instantly. Then, what about Emo Shui? Hasn't she been keeping you company in the ward? Hua Min asked. Emo Shui is missing. Gao Ran looked worried. Missing? How could that be? Hua Min suddenly felt that the situation was getting more and more confusing. I think it's weird too. We haven't even found the truth about Xiang Xian's death, and now something has happened here. I think I'm done as the bureau chief. Gao Ran felt a headache just thinking about it. Yesterday he ordered people to protect the other members of the Xiang family, but today something happened to Elder Xiang. Moreover, it happened in a place like Southside where there were so many people. He had to admit that the culprit was extremely daring. Did you see the hospital's surveillance cameras? Yeah, it's the same as the one at the bar. Someone tampered with it and no one knew. One dead, one missing. We're starting to suspect that Emo Shui killed Elder Xiang. Maybe she ran away to avoid punishment. Gao Ran analyzed. Then, do you suspect Hua Xiqian? Hua Min asked slowly. Chapter 2345. What's the point of suspecting him? Hua Xiqian has an alibi and I've sent people to spy on him. He's between the Hua Corporation and Hua Xiqian's mansion, and he hasn't moved at all. We've also monitored his phone and he didn't give any orders to his subordinates. So there's no reason for us to arrest him and interrogate him. That's strange. Everyone knows that Hua Xiqian is the only one who has a grudge against the Xiang family or Mo Shui. He hasn't done anything yet and people are disappearing one after another. This is really strange. Hua Min felt that something was strange about this case, but she couldn't tell what was strange about it. I've interrogated a lot of witnesses who saw Xiang Xian, and they all said that she was taken away by a few foreigners. As you know, foreigners are sensitive, and it's extremely inconvenient for them to commit crimes in China. Foreigners? Hua Min furrowed her brows slightly. She wasn't interested in this case, but Mo Shui's disappearance made her feel that this case wasn't as simple as it seemed. Yeah, they didn't know what they looked like and the surveillance cameras were tampered with. So, I don't have any leads. Gao Ran sighed slightly with his hands on his hips. How did this happen? Hua Min also felt that this was a very difficult case. Okay, Hua Min, you go back to work. I'll send someone over to do an autopsy on Mr. Xiang. Then we'll continue to investigate Mo Shui's disappearance. After Gao Ran left, Hua Min couldn't calm down. She returned to her office and thought about it for a while. In the end, she still felt that it was time to call Hua Xiqian. She couldn't remember how long it had been since she last called Hua Xiqian. If it weren't for everything that had happened recently, she probably wouldn't have taken the initiative to call him. Hua Xiqian was slightly surprised when he saw the caller ID. When he saw Hua Min's number, he thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him. After confirming that it was Hua Xiqian, he couldn't suppress the ecstasy in his heart and picked up the phone. Ming. His voice was so gentle that it didn't sound like him. Hua Xiqian, let me ask you, do the things that happened recently have anything to do with you? Hua Xiqian was being straightforward. Unfriendly. Hua Xiqian, what are you talking about? The Xiang's death, Mr. Xiang's murder, or Mo Shui's disappearance? Hua Xiqian asked. All of them. Would you believe me if I said I didn't do it? Hua Xiqian asked in a low voice. But why are all of them related to you? Do you know? Mo Shui is directly related to you. Yesterday at the hospital she even mentioned you to me. She said that you have dual. Hua Min suddenly remembered that Gao Ran said that Hua Xiqian's phone was being monitored by the Public Security Bureau. Therefore she stopped herself in time and didn't mention his dual personality. Go on. Hua Xiqian said faintly. What I mean is, if you did it, don't try to be mysterious. Just admit it. If I didn't do it, do I have to take the blame? Hua Xiqian chuckled. No, that's not what I meant. I just wanted to say that it's best if you didn't do it. After all, murder isn't a small matter. Also, there have been a lot of incidents recently. Although it's the Xiang family, I have a feeling that it has something to do with you. If you didn't do it, then you have to be careful. You might be the next target. Hua Min said word by word. Chapter 2346. So, Mian, are you reminding me to take care of myself? You care about me, don't you? Hua Xiqian's voice contained a hint of childish joy. You're overthinking it, I don't care about you. I'm just reminding you out of kindness. After all, I don't want to see you get killed one day and sent to South Side. Hua Min replied coldly. No matter what, I'm still happy that you said that. Hua Xiqian said gently as he held onto the phone. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Wait. Hua Xiqian hurriedly shouted. Is there anything else? Min, can you take some time off? What? Hua Min frowned slightly, not sure what Hua Xiqian meant. Mian, why don't you take some time off? Take your husband and kids overseas for a vacation or something. Bali, Saipan, the Maldives, anywhere is good. Anyways, go relax and travel. Why? Hua Min was confused. Why would Hua Xiqian ask her to take a vacation out of the blue? Because the city hasn't been peaceful recently. I'm worried that you'll be scared. After all, such a brutal murder happened and everyone is on edge. I'm not worried about that. Don't forget, I'm a doctor and I come across a lot of dead people every day. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Not wanting to waste time talking to Hua Xiqian, Hua Min hung up the phone. In fact, she just wanted to know if this incident was caused by Hua Xiqian. After all, Mo Shui was the person closest to him. However, Huasiqian really didn't seem to be involved. So, who could it be? On the other hand, Huasiqian hung up the phone, also worried. He vaguely knew who did it, but he didn't even dare to send people to investigate. He was afraid that he would alert the enemy. Men? Huasiqian called for his men at the door. Boss, send more people to protect Mian. Whether she's at work or off, keep an eye on her. Yes, boss. Huasiqian didn't care about anyone's life or death, except for Huamin. Russia, Moscow, an ancient castle in the suburbs. Miss Lu, you can't go out. The tall Russian bodyguard blocked Lu Yan's way. Lu Yan was wearing a white cashmere coat with a white fox fur collar. Her long hair was slightly curled. Her dark brown hair draped over her shoulders like seaweed. Coupled with her stunning face, it was indeed the most beautiful scenery in the cold. Fuck off. Lu Yan's eyes were cold and didn't look like she was just joking. Miss Lu, please don't make things difficult for us. Young master said that you can't leave this place. Not to mention you guys, even Xiao Fei can't stop me. Get out of my way, don't force me to kill. Miss Lu. Before the bodyguard could finish, he stopped abruptly. A silver pistol appeared in Lu Yan's hand and she pointed it between the bodyguard's eyebrows. Lu Yan's marksmanship was fast and accurate. That was something that all the assassins in the world knew. The bodyguard didn't dare to move because he knew that this lady wasn't joking. Life was worthless in her hands. Just then a cold voice came from behind her. Yan, what are you doing? Lu Yan turned around and saw Xiao Fei in a Russian military uniform. His silver hair shone in the night. Psycho Qiao, you came at the right time. Tell them to get out of my way, I want to leave. Oh, you can't go anywhere. Xiao Fei's attitude was firm. Xiao Fei, do you know? Ian went to Sea City, my sister's family will be in danger. Lu Yan's eyes were anxious. Chapter 2347. I know. Xiao Fei was calm. Then why won't you let me go? Lu Yan raised her voice in anger. It's because I know he's here that I can't let you go. You know he's looking for you everywhere. If you go, you'll die. Xiao Fei looked into Lu Yan's eyes quietly. But if I don't go, my sister and her family, he doesn't know your sister's identity, Xiao Fei corrected her. But he'll find out sooner or later. If he does, we'll be in trouble. You know my sister is different from me. She's just an ordinary person. Lu Yan was getting more and more scared. And calm down. Qin Chu isn't an ordinary person. He'll protect his wife and daughter, but that's Ian. Lu Yan knew Qin Chu wasn't an ordinary person, but no one could fight back against Ian. She and her dad were powerful, but they still managed to hide from Ian for years. How do you know Qin Chu will lose to Ian? Xiao Fei seemed to have confidence in Qin Chu. Psycho Qiao, I don't want to waste my time with you. I just want to ask you one thing. Are you going to let me go or not? Lu Yan was getting anxious. What if I don't? Then I'll have to be impolite. Lu Yan's eyes changed. Do whatever you want. Shoot me if you can and then you can leave. Xiao Fei walked closer to Lu Yan and pointed her gun at his chest. Xiao Fei, you. Lu Yan didn't expect Xiao Fei to be so determined to stop her from going to Sea City. Do you think I don't dare? Lu Yan was furious. I don't think you don't dare. I know you're capable of anything because you've always been the fearless Lu Yan. You can either shoot me and leave or go back and stay here. Xiao Fei said it casually as if he didn't think he would die under Lu Yan's gun in the next second. You're sure that I won't shoot you, aren't you? I didn't. I told you do whatever you want. The two of them stared at each other coldly. Lu Yan's hand trembled slightly with the pistol in her hand. She would never shoot Xiao Fei. She was scared to death when she found out that Xiao Fei was going to die. Later, when Xiao Fei was rescued, she still remembered the feeling of regaining what she had lost. She knew that Xiao Fei did not want her to go there for her own good. Ian might not know her sister's identity, but he would definitely notice her. At that time when they met, a battle of life and death would be inevitable. Although Lu Yan wasn't a pushover, she still couldn't defeat Ian. This was a fact that they all knew. Finally, Lu Yan sighed and put down the gun. You won, she said listlessly. I'm doing this for you. Let's fight. Don't threaten me and I won't make things difficult for you. Do you dare? Psycho Qiao? Lu Yan lifted her chin and looked at him confidently. How? Xiao Fei looked at the little girl in front of him calmly. Let's do karate. Draw a circle. Whoever can force the other out of the circle wins. If you win, I won't mention going to see City again. If you lose, then you have to prepare a helicopter for me, Lu Yen said in a domineering tone. Chapter 2348. What if I don't agree to fight with you? Xiao Fei, screw you. Lu Yen was furious. And don't try so hard. I promised Dad that I'd take good care of you. What if something happens to my sister? Lu Yen yelled at Xiao Fei. I'll keep an eye on her. If she's in danger, I'll find a way to save her. I won't let anything happen to her. You saved my life, so I'm not a cold-blooded person, Xiao Fei promised Lu Yen. Really? Hearing this, Lu Yen felt a bit relieved. When have I ever lied to you? If that's the case, why don't you have the guts to fight with me? Are you afraid of losing? Lu Yen raised her chin proudly. No, I'm just not interested in the bet, Xiao Fei said faintly. What do you want to bet? Lu Yen was speechless at this guy. If I win, you'll sleep in my bed tonight, okay? Xiao Fei was so calm that he even dared to say such bold words in front of his subordinates. Lu Yen didn't even have time to blush. She was so angry that she didn't know what to say. I don't want to play with you anymore. Humph, tell me I'm going to take a nap. Then Lu Yen turned around and went back into the castle. She didn't mention going to see City again, nor did she mention something as childish as a fight. Xiao Fei looked at the unruly little girl and heaved a sigh of relief when she finally stopped being willful. He turned around and walked back. He picked up his cell phone and dialed a number. Qin Chu had just finished a meeting at the company. When he walked out, he received a call from an unknown number. The phone app automatically recognized that the number was from Russia. These two words made Qin Chu think of Xiao Fei and Lu Yen. After the hurried farewell on New Year's Eve, he hadn't heard from them. At this thought, Qin Chu picked up the phone. Oh, brother-in-law, it's Xiao Fei. Xiao Fei called him brother-in-law very naturally. I know. Qin Chu was even calmer than Xiao Fei. It was as if they had known each other for a long time. I have some news for you. Okay, go ahead. Qin Chu nodded as he walked. According to our reliable sources, Ian arrived in Sea City 2 days ago. What did you say? Qin Chu felt his body tremble. You didn't find out because he changed his appearance when he entered the country. What others saw wasn't Ian's real face. That's why they didn't feel anything. So that's how it is. Qin Chu finally understood. No wonder he had a bad premonition recently. As expected, Ian was here, and there was a series of recent events. What did Ian's visit have to do with the Xiang family and Mo Shui? Why would this be? Qin Chu's brain worked quickly, so a series of questions popped out. Yen is afraid that her sister's identity will be exposed. You know how much she loves her sister. That's why she insisted on going over today. But I don't want to alert her. I don't think Ian already knows about her sister's identity. Otherwise, things wouldn't be so peaceful. Xiao Fei analyzed calmly. You're right. Think so too. Qin Chu agreed with Xiao Fei. If Ian knew about Huamin's identity, he would have done it a long time ago. He wouldn't be so quiet. But it's still better to be on guard. There's no harm in being vigilant. Ian's methods are too cruel. Brother-in-law, you have to be careful at all times. You have to protect your family, Xiao Fei reminded him. Chapter 2349. Hey, I got it. Thank you for the information. My people will keep a close eye on Ian's every move. If necessary, we can send people over at any time. After hanging up the phone, Qin Chu could no longer calm down. When he was in America for 4 years, he didn't even hesitate to part with Huamin to investigate Hua Xiqian's 6 years of study in Germany. Later, he found out that Hua Xiqian had a close relationship with Ian's family. When he was investigating Ian, Qin Chu found that he was a psychopath. He couldn't even be considered a human anymore. The number of people who died in Ian's hands was immeasurable. It wouldn't be surprising if Ian was an anti-human being who posed a threat to mankind and society. After receiving this news, Qin Chu didn't dare to let his guard down. He immediately sent more people to protect his family. On the other hand, he planned to find Gao Ran after work and ask Gao Ran to stop investigating blindly. Rick and Cece wanted to leave as soon as possible. However, Cece's sister twisted her waist a few days ago when she was filming. In order to take care of her sister, Cece delayed the trip. Rick was busy and didn't rush Cece, so they left a few days later. Today Cece and Rick were eating Japanese food together. Rick looked like he had a lot on his mind. What's wrong? Is there something on your mind? Cece asked. No, then why do you look so sad? I'm thinking about something, Rick said as he ate slowly. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to delay the trip. I'm really worried about my sister's injury. You know she's a celebrity. She faces a lot of unexpected situations every day. Cece, I'm not blaming you. Don't think too much. Rick reached out and held Cece's hand to comfort her. When my sister gets better, we'll go back to America, okay? Cece smiled brightly. Okay. Rick nodded slightly. His eyes were full of love. Just then, a group of people walked in and attracted the attention of everyone in the restaurant. This was because it was rare to see so many foreigners together. There were 4 of them in front and behind, and they were all dressed in black robes. It was as if they were the followers of a certain religion so exaggerated. At first he didn't care about these things, but when the leader came in front of Rick and greeted him, he was shocked. Rick then realized something. Hi. My old friend, I didn't expect to meet you here. The familiar voice made Rick's body tremble. He raised his head and discovered that the face was unfamiliar to him, but the voice was... For a moment Rick couldn't react. What do you think of my new face? Cool, isn't it? The man smiled strangely. Throughout the entire process he spoke extremely standard American English. Cece had studied abroad for a few years, so she naturally understood their conversation. So he looked at Rick curiously and asked, Darling, is this your friend? Honey. The man turned to look at Cece when he heard her address Rick. When Cece met his eyes, she felt an inexplicable fear in her heart. She didn't know why, but she just felt nervous. It was a terrible feeling. Although the face was that of a handsome foreigner, it was a very bad feeling. He was even more handsome than a mixed race like Rick, but Cece somehow felt repulsed by him. My old friend, when did you start to like this kind of woman? The man asked Rick with a smile, but his smile made people's hair stand on end. Chapter 2350. Why are you here? Rick knew that even though the face wasn't Ian's, it was definitely Ian's. Only Ian liked to change faces like this. The Rick family had always been a well-known mafia group in America. His father had been in contact with Ian's family since the beginning. Later, because of Ian's actions, it was simply inhumane. By the time Rick's eldest brother was in charge of the business, he had completely cut off all dealings with him. Therefore they weren't really friends, but they weren't enemies either. They were just old acquaintances. Rick hadn't seen Ian for a long time. It had been about 7 or 8 years. I'm here to hang out. This place is really interesting. Ian smiled evilly. Cece saw Rick's expression and knew that they were just old friends, so she didn't interrupt. Then the man looked at Cece again. Are you kidding or are you serious? Aren't you engaged to Luna? That's not true. Rick replied coldly. Oh, interesting. You guys are really interesting. What do you think, old friend? Are you interested in having dinner with me? Ian asked. No, I'm not interested at all. We're done eating. Enjoy your meal. We should go now. Rick stood up and pulled Cece away. He seemed to want to leave as soon as possible. When he pulled Cece away, he unintentionally used a lot of strength, causing Cece's wrist to hurt a little. That's a shame. See you later. Ian didn't force them. He just smiled. Then he calmly watched Rick and Cece leave. Rick didn't react until they were out of the restaurant. He turned around and said, Sorry, did I hurt you? It's okay, it doesn't hurt. What's wrong? Who was that? Who's Luna? What fiancé? Cece didn't understand what they were talking about either. It's nothing. Cece, this is a very dangerous person. I should go talk to Chin Chu. Rick knew that Chin Chu had investigated Ian because he was related to Hua Si-Chin. Ian's appearance here shocked Rick. He immediately understood why there had been so many tragedies in the past few days. Headquarters of Shin Group Hua Yanyan came to the CEO's office with her bag. Miss Hua Yanyan, please wait here for a moment. President Shin is in a meeting. The female secretary was very polite to her because she knew Hua Yanyan. All right, there's no hurry. I'll just wait here for a while. Would you like coffee or tea? No need, you can go ahead. I'll just sit here for a while. Well, call me if you need anything. The female secretary closed the door and left. It wasn't her first time in Shin Mingxi's office. Shin Mingxi didn't hide anything from her. He treated her very well. Hui Yanyan thought about her promise with Emo Shuai and decided to give it a try. However, since yesterday he couldn't contact Emo Shuai. He couldn't call her and she didn't reply to his WeChat messages. Seeing that the appointed time was about to arrive, and the medicine had always been with her, should she take it or not? Hui Yanyan took out her phone and sent Emo Shuai another WeChat message. Are you there? I have something urgent to talk to you about. I've thought about what you said. I'll do it. After a while she still didn't get a reply. Hui Yanyan waited anxiously. Without Emo Shuai's help there was nothing she could do. She was also afraid that she would be in trouble if her plan was exposed. She even wondered if Hu Xiqian saw through her plan and made a move on Emo Shuai. In a basement on the first floor of a house in Sea City. When Emo Shuai woke up she felt sore all over. Where am I? She opened her eyes in a daze. Chapter 2351. There were still no leads on Xiang Xian's death, and Mr. Xiang was murdered in the hospital. At the same time Emo Shuai went missing as well. The case was getting more and more complicated. As a high-ranking official in the bureau, Gao Ran was under a lot of pressure. It wasn't until Qin Chu came to him and told him about Ian that Gao Ran finally realized what was going on. Chu, are you saying that Ian has something to do with all these cases? Gao Ran asked as he looked at Qin Chu in shock. They were at a coffee shop near the bureau. Yes. I can't think of anyone else. But it doesn't make sense. There's no motive. The Xiang family and Ian have nothing to do with each other. How is that possible? Don't forget he might not have anything to do with the Xiang family, but he's related to Hu Xiqian, Qin Chu said calmly. Are you saying that Hu Xiqian got someone to help him deal with the Xiang family and Emo Shuai? It's hard to say. After all, we're just guessing. We can't prove that my guess is right. However, there's no doubt that Ian came here and did something so cruel. Qin Chu was almost certain that Ian had something to do with all these cases. When he investigated Ian in the US, he found out that Ian was even more disgusting and perverted than this. That makes sense. No wonder the witnesses said that they saw Xiang Xian talking to a few foreigners before she died. Even if you know that Ian did it, you can't arrest him. Qin Chu said slowly as he took a sip of his coffee. I know what you mean. I know what kind of person Ian is. He's a terrorist that even the FBI can't do anything to. How could he be caught by a small police officer like me? I'm not that naive. I'm just worried that more people will die. Gao Ran said worriedly. If things like this kept happening in his jurisdiction, he wouldn't be able to answer to his superiors. Gao Ran felt a lot of pressure. That depends on how lucky Emo Shuai is. Qin Chu felt that Emo Shuai was most likely dead. I hope this will end after Emo Shuai. Gao Ran's expression was serious. Qin Chu raised his head and asked, did you discover anything while you were keeping an eye on Hu Xiqian? Nothing. He's unexpectedly quiet. He goes to work and comes home after work. His schedule is even more regular than a student's. I've also monitored his phone calls. I can't find any loopholes. Sometimes not having any flaws is the most suspicious part. Qin Chu calmly analyzed. That's right. Hu Min said the same thing. So, when we were monitoring Hu Xiqian's phone, we found out that Hu Min had called him? Gao Ran said casually. Oh, my wife called him. Qin Chu was a little taken aback by the news. Yeah, Hu Min suspected that Hu Xiqian was behind all this and warned him not to do anything rash. I'm guessing that Hu Xiqian also thinks that this is too weird. What did Hu Xiqian say? Qin Chu continued to ask. Gao Ran smiled with a pale face. That fox is very smart. He probably knew that we were monitoring him. Of course he wouldn't admit it. But it's strange, when he spoke to Hu Mian his tone was very creepy. You guys shouldn't act rashly. Investigate in secret and see if there's a chance that you can find Emo Shuai's hiding place. She's missing, not dead. So it's very likely that she's still alive. Or they left her alive on purpose, Qin Chu boldly guessed. You're tuning in to the Biao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.